would like to invite our very first esteemed guest, Mr. Arun Malhotra, former Managing Director for Nissan India, to have a fireside discussion with Sharad to understand how technology and digitization will transform and disrupt the ecosystem of auto ancillaries, manufacturing, and dealers within the automotive sector. Arun is in past had held various senior leadership roles at Mahindra and Mahindra, Maruti Suzuki, and Bajaj Auto, and so on. Presently, he is the industry consultant, board member, and corporate speaker. So, thank you so much, Arun, for joining us. Really appreciate the time that you've taken out today. Over to you, Sharad.
Thank you, Ashish. Arun, welcome to Directions 2020. It's a pleasure having you in this event. From a discussion point perspective, we will try to cover a few topics in terms of your views on auto industry, the role of a CIO in this critical juncture, and we will also talk about some expectations that the automobile industry has from the IT vendor community. So let's get started. Arun, auto industry is one of the most critical industries, contributing to almost 7.5% of India's GDP and more than 50% of manufacturing GDP in India. So as you know, the sector has been going through a crisis even before COVID-19, and the onslaught of COVID-19 has actually made things worse than what it was. So as an industry veteran, we would like to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the challenges that the industry is going through now?
Thanks, Sharad. I think one of the key things that you must remember the auto industry, although there's a lot of doomsday being said even before the COVID-19 struck. I started my career in '83. And in that year, the total passenger four-wheelers sold in a year were 50,000. 2 years back, they were 30 lakhs. Total two-wheelers sold were even much less. So the market has increased by 50 to 60 times in 35 years. And it had been growing at a fairly good rate. So 2 years before that, that is 2018 to 20, we did see some sharp decline in industry. And there were a lot of factors to it. One clearly was over-regulation, because the government started pushing on safety, on emissions, and even on insurance together. All three things very important. But the problem is when you take three strong medicines together, there will always be complications. Second, the overall economy didn't behave well, and the rural market was under distress. Maybe because of demonetization, maybe because of harvest not being good, and also the prices for agriculture products were not remunerated. So 2 years the industry didn't fare really well. And this I'm talking of the pre-COVID. But having said that, even after taking this, the industry in the last financial year has done 27 million vehicles, of which about 20 million is for two-wheelers. Now the challenge in the industry is there are four legs in which the industry has. One is the research and development or the product development. Second is the supply chain. And I would say supply chain is very important because 70 to 75% of the value which is added in a vehicle in the factory comes from components which are sourced from outside. Third is the manufacturers. You'll be surprised to know there are at least 55 major manufacturers in this country, from two-wheelers to heavy commercial vehicles. And last but not the least is the dealers who distribute the product, who sell the product, who service the product. There are about 30,000 of them across 7 districts. So, what has happened in the industry is there are challenges everywhere. The dealer model has got very high cost conscious because in terms of manpower cost, in terms of rentals, in terms of interest costs. So that model is under pressure and it has not changed over the last 100 years. It's a very manpower intensive model. Coming to manufacturers, manufacturing is there. There's a lot of computerization, a lot of CNC machines. But if you say on a scale of 1 to 10, how much it has tapped IT, technology, digitization, I wouldn't put it more than 4 out of 10. Third is the supply chain, which is a very complex component. Any major two-wheeler or four-wheeler player has to interact with 400 tier 1 suppliers. Tier 1 means the components which are big suppliers, and about 200 tier 2 or tier 3 suppliers. So effectively, the suppliers also have to raise their levels up. And since they're of different size, different efficiencies, that's another challenge. and different levels of development. And last but not the least, the R&D, the product development is a very long phase in the auto industry. It takes about 4 to 5 years. Is there a possibility with terms of artificial intelligence, robotization, predictive ability to compress the cycle? So this industry is facing problem on all 4 elements, but it's very manpower intensive. And I sincerely believe, and this is a belief not by me, but across when I talk to CEOs, that computerization, automation, digitization has a lot of potential in this industry. We are passing through tough times in COVID-19. There are crises, so this everywhere is being talked of. But let me tell you, auto industry is not a consumption product. We always believe, and I've gone through 3-4 recessions, the demand can get suppressed, the demand can get transferred, the demand gets postponed, but 90% of the demand gets shifted. So behind every recession, there is always an upswing. But I think the COVID-19 has brought into focus really the challenges of industry. It has highlighted negatives that we probably are not using technology or IT to the next potential. Second, it has brought about the ability to communicate across levels without human interventions. And the third, I think where the opportunity has arisen, most companies have realized for 70% of the functions, they can use digital in manner. So I would say it's a challenging area, but it's also an opportunity. And there is a lot of mindset change which is happening, a lot of churning, how we can redefine the industry. And this is shared across segments, across the place.
Thank you, Arun. That was insightful. Thank you for throwing light on the challenges in the industry across different value streams like R&D, manufacturing, supply chain, and dealer management. So in this juncture, what do you see the role of a CIO to be? What should he or she be focusing on if that person is a CIO of an automobile company?
See, if I take the journey 10 years back, the role of CIO in most auto companies was to supply computers, do the back end. But I am seeing a dramatic shift in the role, the importance, and the visibility of the CIO. Today, CIO is not a chief information officer. He's also, you can say, a chief people's officer, a chief supply chain officer, a chief marketing officer, a chief design development officer. And the CIO has a complete vision of the entire length and breadth of the challenges or the opportunities of a company. So CIO, I see across in the auto industry, has moved to the centerpiece. I don't want to take names, but if you look at the CIO positions in the auto industry, some of them are more senior than the supply chain head, the manufacturing head, and the marketing head. So that will show you how important the role has become. And any development meetings, any design meetings, any strategic meeting, the change management, they are involved part of it. So they are, you can say, the fulcrum in some sense. So the CIO role is very high, and the CIO also is also hard pressed. They need to have a very strong business understanding. So they are in part of generating, saving business, creating business, and developing business. So, and after this COVID-19, I can only tell you, I was talking to 1 or 2 CIOs, their importance has even grown further. So if you ask me, for CIOs, it's probably the most challenging times, but it's also the most rewarding times. That's the way I look at it.
Okay. So from a focus perspective, what should they be looking at? Should they be looking at automating certain operations? Should they be looking at the dealer side of things? How should they actually look at solving some of the problems or the challenges that the industry is going through?
See, CIO today, the way a CIO operates today, they have to look at all elements. They have to look at the design development also, supply chain also. One of the challenges in each of these areas, there are, you can say, vast islands of, I wouldn't say inefficiencies, but potential which has not been tapped to the right extent. So one is clearly how to improve efficiency in each of the areas. Now take dealerships. Today, dealership is so manpower intensive, whether in workshop, whether in sales. And clearly in the last 1 year, and it's clearly coming out in the last 15 days even, that there are a number of processes in the dealership which are long overdue for automation, digitization, and less of human intervention, and you can really reduce cost. So that's one element, but CIO has to look at it because dealers are the arms of the manufacturer. Within manufacturer, you have a lot of machines which have come in, which are computerized CNC machines. So they are adding efficiency. But I think the bigger challenge I was talking to people is do these CNC machines talk amongst themselves? Do they integrate amongst themselves? Are they able to give, do you need a quality control department if there are signals coming clearly on quality? Do you need a maintenance department where from maintenance you need to move to predictive? So, and in manufacturing, do you have the flexibility of changing manufacturing in terms of products, in terms of variants? Or is it that 2 years back, if you wanted to shape the paint, every 3 days there's one paint going, so next car or next two-wheeler of that paint will come 2 days later. That is changing. So there is a lot of flexibility, lots of automation, lot of interconnectivity. The third bigger challenge is the supply chain, because the quality of your product is the quality of your supply chain, and you have to integrate with so many suppliers, and you need to be also see that the processes at the suppliers conform to your processes. Do you need snooping people going every day checking their machines, or do you have technology at end to monitor and how the interface can be better, more efficient? And suppliers also need to upgrade, because let me tell you, across there are 400 big suppliers. I said tier 1, about 30, 40 are listed in the stock exchange. And surprisingly, their share prices in this COVID-19 has actually improved, because people are seeing a great opportunity, not only for the domestic market, international. And then R&D. And then I think the biggest role is how you, it's like a relay race, or it's like a long chain. Your R&D, your supply chain, your manufacturing, your dealership, and your dealership interface with customer. How do you make it seamless? So one is increasing level of efficiency at each level. Second is automizing it or innovating within the thing. And second is integrating. Suppose, just to take a very simple example, suppose a green color vehicle is a great demand. Now, does it get pushed straight to a supplier who's applying paint that can be supplied green? We have islands of even an IT, islands of technology, which seems advanced, but they don't talk to each other. And what industry is saying, the industry, the way, whether it's in the dealership system, whether in the production system, if I take your IT industry and I take the auto industry, if IT has moved from 1 to 100 and change, auto industry has moved hardly from 1 to 10. Because it's the same dealership I see after 35 years, same manufacturing plants. Yes, I'll see some CNC machine. So there's a complete overhaul. And people are realizing, they've realized it much more. They need much more flexibility, agility, adaptability, and also improving efficiency. So the CIO's role to understand the whole dynamics of it and to give a solution and can really save cost and improve efficiency. There's a great opportunity, not only at the domestic level, at the international level.
Okay, great. Thank you, Arun. Thank you, Arun. Basically, if I try to relate that to technology, a lot of technologies in terms of automation, even predictive analytics and artificial intelligence, infrastructure modernization and rationalization, even application modernization, and integrating the entire ecosystem through API-based architectures are some of the areas that can actually find relevance in the automotive industry. A lot of IT vendors have automotive customers in their portfolio or would like to work with the large automotive players in India. Now, what is the expectation of automotive industry from these IT vendors?
See, I think let me look at a challenge statement. I'm not saying that is a problem statement, but let's look at a challenge statement. If I look at it, when IT vendors talk to them, and I would like to ask the IT vendors 3 basic questions. Do you know who your customer is? So you would know who your customer is. So customers, if you take auto industry, don't limit to 2-wheelers and 4-wheelers and commercial vehicles. Even tractor is your customer. Even earthwork equipment is your customer. Even all the finance companies and insurance companies are totally integrated to the auto business are your customers. So how do you define your customer? Now, if you've defined your customer and you're approaching a customer, do you know the way the company functions, the challenges they are, the opportunities they have, the pain points they have? And what is very important is, do you as a vendor speak their language? First of all, you understand their pain, their comfort or their opportunity, but do you speak to the same language? I like to be very brutally frank. I've sat through a lot of presentation of vendors a number of years back, but I find they talk a lot of technology terms. And I don't see, कहते ज़मीन से मिट्टी की खुशबू नहीं आती. I will use a Hindi phrase, that smell of the soil. So I think it's a big need is when you're approaching your customer to understand where you can add value. And I will call the best solutions are always those which is low cost and high impact. And there are enough solutions. Innovation in one field to another field can be very important. I'll just tell you, 10 years back when we used these touch screens, I was heading for the launch of XV500, I found I couldn't have trained my salesman. We just transplanted technology which was there in IT industry. And it was supposed to be a wow factor. I had gone to receive an award for something which was done in industry 10 years back. But no IT manufacturer had approached that you can enhance your selling skills, your ability to. So understand the customer. That is, I think, the biggest challenge area. And if you understand the business, see, opportunities are galore. And their interactions, I said, at various ends. The dealer end, they're within department ends, with the supply chain, with the R&D, and even with their finance companies. Because we are looking at even solutions that how can, when you're looking at digital, can contactless sales, how can you add finance, insurance, and exchange in the entire selling process? Now, it's an IT solution. Today, the importance and criticality, if I talk to any auto company, I'm talking the last 4 weeks. Before that, isko mujhe systemize karna hai. I'm not tapping the potential. Everybody knows they have a challenge. Now, understanding the challenge, but giving a solution is going to be an important part of it. I understood the presentation, budgets may be a constraint, but let me tell you, if you're able to show value, the budgets can be reoriented, reorganized within a company. And you have to not put on very heavy investment. It has to be more OPEX than a CAPEX thing. So this is the way I see from IT. So understand the company which is, and then you approach as customer. Know your customer.
Yeah. So when I interact with a lot of IT users, one of the concerns that I hear as well is, a lot of IT vendors come with examples that are not India specific. Especially in automobile industry, if an IT vendor is trying to interact with an automobile company, how critical is it to build an India specific context?
Absolutely right. I think you're bang on this point. A lot of people, IT vendors, they show their foreign country examples. Sir, we are doing this in the paint shop of Porsche. Now, if I am sitting in Maruti, I say I'm making a 4 lakh car. Porsche is making 1 crore car. Is it relevant? So my point is, think global but act local. And surprisingly, auto industry is not that diverse from abroad or what is in India. But you have to use the right examples, the right signals, the right challenges which are there. So if you're able to understand the dynamics of this industry, just to take an example, I was surprised that most IT companies, when they look at their list, they never think of tractor manufacturers. To me, that is the fastest growing segment in this rural market. I was talking to tractor players. They say our demand is intact. Our problem is we are not able to produce. So we get also enamored by something, and can we get solutions? And one of the advantages in IT is that if you get a solution for one particular type of company, most companies have the same type of systems or processes. 80% is similar. Your ability to adapt, the cost in the first company may be high, but if you've done it in a major player, the cost to adapt, acclimatize, and change is much lower. So clearly, I think domain knowledge is very important of the industry. And when I say domain knowledge, I am not talking of IT domain. I believe most companies, most vendors need to understand the industry threadbare, the company threadbare also, what are the dynamics of that within that same organization, because the decision making will be totally different. In a conglomerate which has group of companies, there is a centralized IT department as corporate, someplace it's a single, like a Hero or maybe a Maruti, someplace there's a multinational linkage. So you need to understand it. So think global and act local, and you have to really put solutions which are on the ground. What is the challenges and opportunities?
Great. Think global, act local, have solutions specific to an industry, addressing a specific business problem, and provide a cost-effective solution.
Just one thing, I just wanted to add.
Yes.
Today, the biggest challenge for most companies is they know rural market is recovering faster. They know the growth of India and auto will come from rural. But they know the ability to expand to dealers or expand in the rural area is a more time-consuming or a challenging. If there was a solution in digital which was simple to interact, to relate, and to improve my rural footprints over and above what you're talking of cities and digital footprint, it should be a great solution. But nobody is talking of rural. How to capture the challenge or the opportunity of 7 districts where the growth opportunities are huge. So I'm just taking one example to link it out. And that's not relevant anywhere in the world. I'm just taking in India.
Right. Absolutely. Very insightful. You made a point on the decision-making process in automobile companies, right? A lot of IT vendors have this challenge because there are a lot of business units within an automobile company, and there are a lot of decision makers for those specific units. And you have an overarching persona who is a CIO who takes care of technology end to end. Now, if an IT vendor wants to talk to an automobile company, should he be talking to different business users in different divisions of the automobile company, or should they take more of a top-down approach by talking to the CIO and coming down? What should their approach be?
So, one solution will not fit everybody, but let me take a very simple, let me take an example. CIO clear is the fulcrum, is the epicenter, or you can say on which the planets rotate. But suppose there's a problem or there's an opportunity in terms of a solution for dealer automation or dealer digitization. Now, obviously, the marketing and sales head have an important view on it. So looking at what is the product you're offering. So, if you look at auto companies, so one clearly is the CIO, which I'm talking. Then is the supply chain, manufacturing, R&D, marketing, and backend will be HR and finance, which are there. Now, one is if you have a project, and sometimes it's a seamless project across from R&D to this, you might need to talk to all players. But looking at what you're offering is something you can talk to that core department need. Suppose is it a supply chain solution or a marketing solution? So if supply chain and marketing gets impacted, you need to meet these people also and tell them, what is, when you meet them, three things happen. One, you get aligned to their problems and challenges. Second, you build up some connect and empathy. Third, whenever the decision comes at the top level, and generally when these big decisions are taken, they are taken in this management committee meetings, which have it. So you have other players. So if they know of your challenge and they know, if they've heard of you as a company and your solution, and you have tailor-made it to it, you'll be the night winner. So CIO you go, but whoever is the functional heads, and I tell you, it's easier. I still remember one case, I don't want to mention the company. One company was trying to automate the entire HR process. No HR company ever approached me as marketing. They approached me and they showed me how the advantage is. And they had approached everybody. So when it came for management committee meeting, their ability to go through was much simpler. So you need to do connect, contact. And the best time to connect, contact is not when you're going for selling. That is the big mistake which people make. Yeah, I have a solution now. Now tomorrow I have a meeting with this CIO. Today evening I'm trying to meeting with the marketing head. No. There's no business happening in next 3 months. It's a great opportunity. Go and understand. Tell them what you can do. Understand what they require. I can tell you the solution which you build. It's saying the solution, what you invest in building up relationship or understanding, you'll be in the best position.
Great. Thank you very much, Arun, for the wonderful insights you have provided on the industry, as well as recommendation to the IT vendor community who are on call. I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways from this discussion. With that note, we will end the discussion here and open up the forum for any questions to Arun or IDC.